Welcome back to the WFT Declassified Podcast, your favorite podcast for Commanders football conversation. Eric, how we doing tonight?
Worst round of golf I have played in years tonight. So I'm in a bad mood to start, and that's about all I can tell you. We don't know where it's going to go from here. Can't go anywhere but up, though. I promise you that.
We'll see how it turns out. Brian, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I just came back from listening to an awesome elementary school recital. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go.
All right, and I just got done coaching a U8 soccer game. We got blown out 7-0 to a team we've been handling all year long. So,
did you have a bunch of parents yelling at you then?
Never. Have you seen me? Never. No. Yeah, it's a good day for all of us here. How about that? So, everybody listening or watching on YouTube, audio, wherever you are, thank you for checking us out. Thank you for riding with us. Make sure you subscribe, tell your friends, everybody get them into the party, because as we get closer to the season, these episodes are just going to get better and better, and you don't want to miss it. I promise you that. Tonight, we're going to talk to you about where we think this offense is going to end up as a whole, where we think some of the stat lines are going to be for some of our players, where we think the defense might end up. Some good conversation like that. And as we're going through this, what we want you to do is hit the comment section, give us your predictions for where the offense will rank, where the defense will rank, and where you think some of your favorite players are going to end up at stat-wise. But we're going to start it with the offense as a whole. As you know, on offense, we made a few upgrades, but they were significant. We have Carson Wentz at the quarterback. If you don't know by now, you have been sleeping under a rock. We also drafted Jahan Dotson as a wide receiver in the first round. We got a running back, Brian Robinson, out of Alabama to add to the running back room. So all of that, in terms of improvement, should help out quite a bit from where we ended up last year. Don't forget that Antonio Gibson is another year under his belt at running back to add to the mix as well. So we should get some improvement just by experience. And then we also added a little bit in the tight end room that we're going to talk about tonight. So, Eric, I'm going to start with you. In terms of offense this year, how much better in the general sense do you think the offense is going to be this year as compared to last year?
Well, you're assuming that I think it's going to be better.
Okay, that's fair.
No, I think it's going to be better. I do. I think it's going to improve mainly in the explosive play area. I think you're going to see a lot more deep shots. But that may also mean you see more three and outs. So that's going to balance itself out. I do think it's an improved group. I think quarterback play just elevates the offense. It does. As much as I enjoyed watching Taylor Heineke run around and make things happen, he's just not a starting NFL quarterback for a full season. So Carson Wentz being there should open up the offense, obviously in the deep passing game, but also, that deep passing game will help the running game. So I do think an overall improvement for the offense. I don't know that it's super drastic. I feel confident top half offense next year. And I will say, go out on a limb, I'll say top 12 offense next year. I'm not going to give you a specific rank, but they will be in the top third of the league.
Wow. Okay. So last year they were 19th in yards a game. So that's.
And I don't care about yards per game either. Yards per game. I want points. I don't. We've had offenses. Remember those Jay Gruden days where we were running up and down the field? We had all kinds of yards. We can score. That's more important to me. But yards per game is the official stat for offensive rankings. So yeah, I'll still go top 12.
Yeah, points wise, we were 24th in the league last year. So top
let's get
12,
into the top half in points, top 12 in yards.
Huge improvement there if that's the case. So, Brian, are you in agreement with Eric?
Absolutely. The offense will be better. Is it going to be the best offense in the NFL? No. I mean, that's not realistic. But we were very, very bad. We were so bad that we can only go up with the improvement that we did get at quarterback and with some additional weapons through the draft. So, yeah, I think we need to be points-wise. We need to be 10, 11, 12. I think Eric is right. Somewhere in that 10 to 12 range, maybe 10 to 15. But really, if we want to be competitive and we want to have hopes of making some noise via playoffs, we got to be around that top 10 in terms of scoring. Because Ellie, you just I think you just gave out the stat. We were 23rd or 24th in points. I think we had like 19.7 points a game. Dallas was number 1 at 30 points a game. Like, we're not even close to 30 points a game. So we need to get there, because that's where a lot of the league is. They're in that 28, 29, 30 points a game. And we haven't seen that in a couple of years here. So we really need to do that. And I think this offense can be at least on the outside of that, in that top 10, top 11, top 12 range.
So I look at the team last year, right? We were 12th in rushing, 19th in yards per game, 24th in points per game. And what that tells you is there was a lot of period of inactivity and unproductive football play going on. So the rushing attack being 12th, that's tricky to me in terms of repeating that. And yes, I know we added some pieces there, but I feel like we got those yards in a lot of scenarios in which we were trailing, the game wasn't competitive, things like that in some scenarios. I don't know that I expect us to be 12th in rushing this upcoming season. Plus, if you think about it, we didn't really have a quarterback that was really capable, as Eric said, to really compete for a full season. So as the quarterback play improves, there could be some impact to the run game. Where I think we're really going to see improvement is, I do think we're going to see an improvement in yards per game, because we're going to have more sustained drives. A little bit less of the 3 and outs, because we'll stay out of the 3rd and 33s hopefully this year.
Yes.
Points per game is something that Scott Turner has never been able to produce. That is a must that he figures that out for us to be better this year. So us being 24th last year, I'm going to say this year we're going to get to 19th in points per game. Is that as big of an improvement as Eric's talking about? No. But if we won 7 games last year and we improve, let's say, 5 spots in points per game, that's a pretty decent improvement there for me. And we can talk about how our defense can improve to help that. The other thing I want to remember in terms of offensive rankings this year, I think we're going to move up by default, because a lot of the top tier quarterbacks in the AFC East went to the AFC, right? So I think by proxy of that our offense is going to move up in rankings, but it has to be a productive movement in rankings, right? We don't want empty, hollow stats. To Eric's point, we want stats that result in wins. So points is going to be necessary. Passing wise, I expect us to move up from 19th yards a game. I'll go with Eric about 12th yards per game in passing. Rushing, I think we're going to go probably from 12th to 15th. I'll say we'll drop back a little bit, because some of those teams that lost quarterbacks are going to rush the ball a little bit more than they typically did last year. So all in all, I think we'll have a pretty decent improvement on offense. I want to taper my expectations just a little bit, because we have to see which Carson Wentz we're going to have. We have to see what some of these players' roles are going to be. But I think somewhere overall as an offense, I think we'll be somewhere in that, let's say, 15th to 18th range.
Ellie, I think to your point about the offense needing to score more points and the improvement that we'll see this year, I went to teamrankings.com, and if you look, they have points a game, and then they have points a game by quarter. And we were awful in the first quarter. Like, our offense didn't do anything in the first quarter, basically every game all year. So guess how many points we scored in the first quarter on average last year? 3.4 points a game, a field goal. That was 21st in the league. And that was average in the first quarter. In the second quarter, we were 6.6 points a game in the second quarter. That has to change. Like, a lot of times we fell behind 0-14, 0-17 into big deficits that we couldn't pull ourselves out with. So hopefully Carson Wentz is able to kind of keep that offense on schedule, on time, that we're able to score points a little bit more regularly, because 3.4 points in the first quarter isn't going to get it done for us. So we absolutely need that boost. However it comes, whether we, 19th, 12th, whatever, we've got to get some more points in the first half of games.
Yeah, I don't think the team scored an opening drive touchdown all year.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they barely scored any points at all on the opening drive, but I think the opening drives were just disastrous. They were almost always 3 and out, always punts every week. So, yeah, I agree with you there. Got to get off to a better start. And I think they can. I think, quarterback play had a lot to do with that. Again, I love Taylor, but he's you can't consistently push the ball down the field, you're going to have a problem in the NFL. So hopefully Carson can improve that.
For sure. And speaking of Carson, let's get into some of our individual skill position stat projections. So last year, Carson had 3,563 yards. That was 18th best in the league. He had 27 touchdowns. That was 10th best, 7 interceptions, tied for third. And his QBR was 54.7, which was tied for ninth. How do you think he's going to perform in this offense from a stat perspective, Eric?
I think similar numbers are in order. I don't see, he may get a little bit of a step up. I do think this team is going to run more. But, Scott Turner wants balance on offense, so I don't see his numbers really spiking. He may hit the 4,000-yard mark if he has a good season. He may hit 30 touchdowns if he has a good season. But I don't see his numbers being too far off from what they are next year, with the exception of maybe interceptions coming up a little bit. Because that's it. 7 picks in a year is pretty good.
That's really good.
Brian, you agree?
No, I do not. I don't think Scott Turner wants balance. He wants to throw it. He wants to feature the quarterback. He's not a believer in the run game. He's a pass-first offensive coordinator, and I think you're going to see it reflected in Carson Wentz's numbers. I think he throws for 4,185 yards. I've got him at 34 touchdowns, 12 INTs with a 66% completion percentage. I think
66. That's high for him.
It is high, but there's a lot of manufactured throws in this Scott Turner offense. A lot of throws to the running backs, screens, wide receiver screens. There's some RPOs thrown in there. So there's high percentage throws to kind of boost up that completion percentage. So I see him having a big year. So everything will be elevated. Those 7 interceptions, we're going to see a little bit more out of him, but hopefully we see more yards and more touchdowns. Scott Turner's going to be a kid in a candy store. He's got a quarterback with a live arm. He may throw it 50 times a game.
I think I see Carson. Yeah, I hope not.
There's a lot of games he's doing that.
I mean, he what was that guy's name that we signed off the Patriots practice squad who started? I mean, he threw it 30 times in a game. That guy should have never thrown it that many times. So he's got a guy with a live arm. He's going to let it fly this year.
I think Carson's going to go for about 4,000 yards. I think I could see him about 33 touchdowns, which would be a record for us, right? And 10 INTs. So that's a commendable year right there. And I think that's an effective year. And if we can get that out of Carson, I think we've won on the trade that we had with Indianapolis. So moving down to the playmakers, I'm going to start with Terry. Last year, he had 77 catches, 1,053 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Eric, how do you see his performance working out this year?
First of all, let me get back to that team record you just spoke of. How crazy is it that Sonny Jurgensen still has the team record for touchdown passes in a season, and he only played a 14-game season? Yes. That's insane. That needs to change. So hopefully Carson can break that, because we just shouldn't have a guy from the 60s with the touchdown record. Anyway, right. Terry McLaurin's stat numbers, that's my guy. I love the guy, and I think that he's going to have a lot of help around him this year with improved running game, improved tight end play, and improved receivers around him. It's only going to benefit him. I can see him hitting the 80 catch mark. I can see him going for 1,300 to 1,400 yards, and I can see 8 or 9 touchdowns from him. He's going to have a Pro Bowl season for sure. That touchdown number may seem a little bit low, but I think just from a production, I think it's going to be kind of a spread it around situation. But if he can hit those numbers, he's had a great season, and he is in line for a gigantic payday if he hasn't been extended by then.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, your thoughts?
I agree with Eric. I'm a little bit higher on the numbers. I think Terry McLaurin, we're going to see him utilized down the field, which we haven't seen in some time. If you remember back to his rookie year, where we had Case Keenum throwing him the ball in that very first game against the Eagles, I think it was like a 65-yard touchdown pass Case Keenum threw to Terry. That's what we're going to see. We're going to see lots of that. So I've got 92 catches, 1,256 yards, and 11 touchdowns. I think this is going to be a big year for Terry. He's got a quarterback who can get him the football every play on time. And he's got now some weapons within the offense that can take some coverage away from him and allow him to do his work down the field.
Yeah, I got to tell you about 83 catches. I think he'll have more of those, because I think he's going to have a more accurate quarterback. We talked about the percentage of uncatchable passes towards Terry. If those were better passes, his numbers would be through the roof as it is. I'll give him 1,200 yards. I agree that they're going to spread the ball around a little bit, but I still think he'll be a wide receiver 1 for us, and 7 touchdowns. And, touchdowns is an area that Terry can improve his game and really elevate himself into the conversation of those next level receivers. He's never been a tremendously high touchdown guy. Yes, he's played with those poor quarterbacks. So as he starts to evolve as a receiver in the red zone, I want to see more opportunities come his way. But I think this year about 7. He had 5 last year. I do think our tight ends are going to get a lot of looks in the red zone and potentially a lot of running the ball in the red zone. So I'd say 83, 12, and 7. Now, the next wide receiver is a little bit complicated to predict. This is Curtis Samuel. Last year, his stats were basically 0, so I'm not going to waste your time there. Let's go back to his last year in Carolina. He had 39 catches, 494 yards, 5 touchdowns, and then he had some rushes as well, rushing the ball that year. Oh, I'm sorry. His last year in Carolina, he actually had 77 catches, 851 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So he was a pretty impactful player. Rushing the ball wise, he had 41 rushes, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Eric, talk to me about Curtis Samuel in 2022.
Yeah. With Curtis Samuel, I like to think of it as touches, not receptions, because I think he's going to get a lot of touches. His catch total, I look at his catch total, in a good, the hope is about 60 catches, probably about 800 yards. And then you want to tack on probably another 35 to 40 rushes for about 250 yards. If you get that out of Curtis Samuel, he's got a fantastic season. And I think he can probably get 8 or 9 total touchdowns out of that as well. He's going to be, if he's healthy, which I think he will be, he's going to be a big part of the offense.
Yeah. Love to see it. Brian, what do you got?
I'm not as high on Samuel. I dislike guys who are injured and who just aren't available. So I don't have him as high. I think there are a couple other guys who are going to steal the spotlight. So I've got him at 40 catches, around 454 yards, 3 touchdowns. I do also have some rushing yards for him as well, too. I think he's going to have a mix of both within the offense. It's not just going to be pass or not just going to be run. But 40 catches, 454 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, so the thing with him in Carolina was he was basically the wide receiver 2. And I think in Washington, he will be some of that, but in some games he won't be, right? Because he'll be using other roles. Yeah. I got him at about 50 catches. I'm going to say he's going to get about 500 yards receiving. I'll give him 4 receiving touchdowns. And rushing-wise, I'm a little bit nervous that we're overstating his impact in the run game. Because we have such a deep run back room with Mckissick, with Gibson, with Robinson now. And if you want to throw Patterson in there, fine. I wonder if they're not going to limit his rushing attempts. But I don't know because he wasn't healthy last year for us to know what their intentions were with him. But I'm going to put him at, I'll say he'll have 30 rushes. I'll give him, 200 yards, and I'll give him 2 touchdowns there. So, a total of 700 yards of offense, but the touchdowns are where it really matters. So he'll be productive in that sense. So that's about where I see Curtis Samuel. Let's go to Jahan Dotson, the rookie out of Penn State.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us expect him to be statistically wide receiver 2 this year, right? Whether he's in the slot or otherwise, I think we expect him to really kind of be that wide receiver 2. I'm going to start with this one. The role in which I envision for Jahan Dotson is Steven Sims Jr. in 2019. The way that they tried to use him in the pass game, I don't think Scott Turner's inventing a new role for Jahan Dotson, right? I think if you go back and watch the games from last year, they tried to use Diami Brown in that role a little bit last year too, right? But in 2019, Steven Sims Jr. was pretty active within the offense, if you remember that. I believe he had something like 60 catches for us that year, believe it or not. I'm trying to pull up his stats now. But I expect him to be somewhere in that range. I think Dotson will be somewhere close to that, between 50 to 60 catches. I think, in terms of yardage, I know when we drafted Diami, we got in here, was like, oh, yeah, he'll get, 700 yards. No problem, right? I don't know if I see that. I think what I'll say is 600 yards for Jahan Dotson, and then I'll give him 3 touchdowns. Is that a tremendous impact for a rookie? No, but I don't think he's that kind of receiver where you're going to see him just fed the ball constantly either. I think he's going to be a really good player for us. He's just going to have a defined role. So that's where I see him at. Eric, what do you got?
So for Jahan, I'm a little different on that because what I see him, his impact is going to be yards per catch. I think he's going to be like a 15 or 16 yard per catch guy, but I think he probably has maybe 40 catches if he's lucky. So you're looking at, 40 catches, 550 to 600 yards, and like 7 or 8 touchdowns. If on a good day, I'd say probably closer to 5 touchdowns, but I can say 7 because he's going to be yards. But I think he's going to be kind of what we wanted Diami to be last year. I think he's like I still love the Deshaun Jackson comparison with him. Like I just feel like he's really going to be really good in space, and you're going to see he's going to be really like fun to watch. And I think he's going to be a chunk play guy. But I don't know that he's going to be like an integral part of the offense every single week. He may get, 3 or 4 targets in a game, but he'll make the most of what he gets. So, yeah, I see him having a, if you're going to look at it at the end of the season, maybe not the best statistical year, but you're going to see quite a few impact plays from him.
So you envision Jahan as really a deep threat for us then, huh?
Yeah, like middle to deep, mid-range to deep threat. Yeah, I don't see him doing like being a slant guy. Maybe he is, but I see him like on deep crosses and deep outs and like hitch and goes, posts, that kind of stuff. Like that's what I see him running. I think that's where he can have the most effect, especially if you get him a clean release. If you bring him off of, if you run him at a flanker or out of the slot, he gets that clean release. He can do a lot of damage.
See, yeah, I see him as more of an underneath guy in this particular offense. And Terry pushes down the field a little bit more, and we'll talk about that.
Terry's going to be the quick slant guy more so. You'll see Terry get a lot of deep balls this year too because he's Terry McLaurin. But I think he's proven that he can run those slants really well.
Okay,
and he can get yards after catch. He can break. He's good through contact, probably more than Jahan will be. But we'll see.
Let's see, Brian. What do you got?
Another $1 bet coming.
Jahan Dotson's going to have a really, really productive year. Like, if we've seen anything in the past 2020 season, 2021, Scott Turner likes interchangeable wide receivers, right? I mean, we've seen Terry in the slot. We've seen him run shorter routes. That's not really what Terry is for. He is intermediate to deep. That's where he can do some of his best work. But we've seen him in the slot. We've seen him running these short little crossers. We've seen DeAndre Carter last year lined up outside. So Jahan Dotson's going to line up everywhere. And I think with his polish of route running and his speed in his hands, I think he's going to be what we thought Curtis Samuel was going to be last year. Not the rushing part of it, but in terms of a playmaker at the wide receiver position. So I'm going 65 catches, 815 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I just really think he is going to be a big part of this offense. Scott Turner has a new toy, and he is going to use him and show him off to all of his friends each Sunday.
That's 800 yards would be tremendous.
That's comparable to Terry's rookie year.
Yeah, it is. So you have a high expectation.
We're going to be a pass team this year. The ball is
quarterback play might do that. Yeah.
We'll see. All right. So Diami Brown last year, he came in the league, didn't have the impact that a lot of us thought he might. We were very excited about him. He had 12 catches, 165 yards, no touchdowns last year. His role this year, I think, is going to evolve. I think they tried to use him underneath a ton last year, especially early on. I think he's really going to migrate more to a deep threat role and purely a deep threat role. So some comps I look for him in terms of role would be like a Will Fuller. So what I'll say is I think Diami's going to have somewhere I think he'll have less than 30 catches. I think he'll be somewhere in the 28 catch range. I'll give him 420 yards, and I'll give him 3 touchdowns. Eric, what say you?
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I'm thinking 25 catches, probably in the 300, 350 yard range, and I'll give him 5 touchdowns because I'm being generous.
You're giving out a lot of passing touchdowns.
I'm giving out a lot. Carson's breaking that record this year.
Let's go. Brian, where are you at?
De'Ami Brown, yeah, I don't think he's going to have that large of an impact just because I think some other guys are going to have bigger impact. So I'm going 28 catches, 301 yards, and 3 TDs. I think he'll have a game where he has a bunch of catches or some big plays, and then he'll be absent for the next 3-4 games. 28 catches, 301 yards, 3 TDs. I think is about what we can expect from him.
Okay, we're all in the general area with De'Ami. Okay, we're going to finish up the wide receivers with Cam Sims. Last year, he had, 15 catches, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns. Look, there should be a role in this offense for Cam Sims because nobody matches his physical profile. They just don't use the guy. So it's hard for me to come out and project something much more than that. I'm going to say he has a little bit more than 15 catches. I'll give him 20 catches. I'm going to give him, let's say, 250 yards, and I'll give him a touchdown. What about you, Eric?
Yeah, I'm going to go pretty much stat line from last year. I'll probably say 15 catches, probably 200 yards, and a touchdown.
Okay.
He's going to have some special teams tackles, though.
For sure.
Yeah.
If Troy Apke doesn't get them all. What do you got, Brian?
I like Cam Sims. Is he going to have a great year? No. I think he's going to have a little bit better year. He's going to have 35 catches, 387 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think he does present a nice big target, and I think with the upgraded quarterback, he gets a couple more catches, but nothing drastic.
Yeah. It's a player we all root for, and to be clear, we all like him. They just don't use him. So what are we supposed to do?
All right, he's the 5th wide receiver, so it is what it is.
It is what it is. Logan Thomas, we don't know when he'll be ready. So what I want to do here is just assume he's going to play a whole season, even if he won't. In 2020, because he was hurt last year, he had 72 catches. I think he was somewhere in the 670-yard range and 6 touchdowns. I don't expect the same for him because we're going to spread the ball around. 2020, we had no options at receiver. That was the year I think we were bringing guys in off the street to play wide receiver for us. I will put him in the I'm going to give him 50 catches. I'm going to give him 500 yards, and I'll give him 6 touchdowns. What do you say, Eric?
Yeah, I got him a little higher. I got him about 60 catches because Carson Wentz does like to throw to tight ends. So if he plays the full season, I'll give him 60 catches, probably 550 yards, and I'll go 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit lower than that. I think he comes in at about 43 catches just because of the injury. We don't know when he's playing, and then there's going to be some playing time that he's going to have to fight for with some added competition at tight end. So 43 catches, 448 yards, 5 TDs, I think is what he kind of ends up the year with.
Okay. And speaking of his competition, John Bates, he had 20 catches last year, 249 yards, and 1 touchdown. I'm going to double down on that because I think he saw more playing time than you would have expected. And I think he showed that he can be somewhat productive in the pass game. So I'll just say he'll repeat that. 20 catches, let's say 250 in terms of yardage. And I'll go 2 touchdowns this year. Eric, where are you at with John Bates?
Yeah, that's about where I'm at with him too. Logan Thomas is going to be your primary receiving threat at the tight end position, but John Bates will get his. He'll eat a little bit. But yeah, 300 yards, probably 25 catches. And a touchdown.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah, I think John Bates starts off the year hot with Carson Wentz while Logan Thomas may be still recovering. So he goes 42 catches, 401 yards, 4 touchdowns, and then Logan Thomas comes in from there. So he gets a nice little boost and then kind of drops off when Logan comes back.
And then that leaves Cole Turner in the tight end room. Look, he's a rookie. He has some athletic ability. I don't really see him playing above Bates or Thomas, to be perfectly honest with you. So that puts him in 3rd tight end territory. I'll give him 10 catches. I'll give him 100 yards, and that's where I'm going to end the stat line for him.
He's going to play, and he's going to catch passes, and he's probably going to have more catches and yards than John Bates. John Bates is going to see more playing time, but he's more of a blocker because Cole Turner ain't blocking anybody. But, yeah, I can see I can see 30 catches for Cole Turner. I can see 300 yards and probably 2 touchdowns.
Okay, that's a lot for me. But
he can, I mean, he is a receiving tight end.
Wow.
No bones about it. They're going to split him out. Like he might take over Cam Sims' job.
Who had 15 catches, by the way. Right. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I think he may have the 15 catches, the Cam Sims stat, because it's just hard for me. I get that, his thing is the big catch radius, but, if you potentially have Logan Thomas and John Bates healthy, which one are you taking off the field? Bates? Like, I think those guys are really good, and I don't know how much better Cole Turner is that I would want to take one of them off the field. So I think he ends up with like 20 catches, 250 yards, maybe 2 touchdowns at the most. But I think there's very minimal of that just because the quality of the 2 guys ahead of him.
Yeah. All right, running backs. Antonio Gibson in 2021, he had 1,037 yards rushing. He had 7 touchdowns. He also contributed in the pass game. He had 42 catches. I don't think a lot of people realize that. He had 42 catches last year, 294 yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. Eric, where are you at with Gibson and coming up in his 3rd year in the league?
Yeah, Gibson's yards per carry will go up. I predict that. But I think his overall yardage rushing will go down because of the 3-headed monster that's going to be there in the backfield. So I can see him with about 850 yards. I can see him averaging about 4.5 yards, 4.4, 4.5 yards a carry. And I can see him scoring 7 touchdowns on the ground. The passing game, maybe he gets more involved with it. 42 catches does seem like a lot, and I think that's more than he'll see next year, just because I only remember 1 catch that he had all season. Apparently he had more, but I only remember the one in Buffalo that he took like 80 yards. So yeah, receiving wise, I'll give him 35 catches. I'll give him about 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, he's got 1,000 total yards season with 10 total touchdowns. That's not too bad.
Yeah. Brian, how do you feel about it?
Antonio Gibson, this is going to be a little different for you guys. His rush yards, he's going to have 687 rush yards, 6 touchdowns. I do think that Eric is right. His average per carry will go up. It'll probably be about 4.5 yards because I think he'll be used more out on the edge and in space for his run plays as opposed to just kind of running straight up the middle. I think that's going to fall to Robinson. But 687 rush yards, 6 touchdowns, and then I think for receiving, he's going to have about 34 catches, 350 yards, and 1 touchdown. I think. His numbers will be a little bit reduced here with some of these other guys.
So you're going 10 yards of reception for him, which is as a running back. Okay.
Yeah, he's going to be used a little bit. It's going to be different, and that's I think some people aren't ready for that. I think he's going to be used very differently than last year.
Okay, so here's where I'm going to strongly disagree with you guys. So here we are, a guy in his 3rd year in the NFL playing running back who just got over 1,000 yards. He's evolving as a running back, and this takes time. I think this is his breakout year as a running back. I'm going to give him 1,300 yards rushing. I'm going to give him 12 touchdowns because, honestly, it's now or never for me with Gibson. So I think this is the year that he really turns it up a notch. Remember that after this upcoming season is when he would need a contract, right? Or else you're going to the last year of his deal with no contract on the table, right? Going into the year 4 next year. So if he's ever going to be something, it's going to be this year. And I'm still team AG. I got him at 1,300 yards. I got him at 10 touchdowns. I think you guys are way overplaying your hand in terms of how much he's going to be used in the pass game. Those 42 catches, Eric, you mentioned it, like 70-something of those came on 1 run for his 294 yards. So think about it. He's really, if you take that out and you take out 1 rush, then that average is way down in terms of receptions. Or yards per reception. I'm going to give him 30 receptions, and I'll give him the 200 yards. I think he'll have maybe 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns. But I think he's going to make his impact in the backfield, not split out wide. That takes us to RB2, who we presume will be Brian Robinson out of Alabama. Eric, what do you got on this guy? What do you think he's going to be statistic-wise?
Brian Robinson is going to be used a lot. His yards per carry is probably not going to be great because he's going to be that pounding back. So he's probably going to average a little less than 4 yards a carry. Where he's going to have impact though is I think he's going to have like 9 or 10 touchdowns. I think he's going to be that touchdown vulture that just comes in after Gibson gets all the yards and all that, the offense moves down the field. They get inside the 5, they give it to Brian Robinson. That's the role I foresee for him. But rushing yardage, probably I'd give him maybe 400 yards rushing, but probably like 9 or 10 touchdowns on the ground.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to throw to him, but let's give him 10 catches for 80 yards.
Okay. Brian, how do you see it, man?
All right, so you heard my number for Antonio Gibson rush yards. Brian Robinson Jr. is going to have 910 rush yards, 5-yard average, 8 touchdowns, and that is because all those times that we saw Gibson run for 2 yards, hit the offensive lineman, and fall down up the middle, it's not going to happen. You have a professional running back who we don't have to wait to develop, who can see the hole and see where the lanes are and actually pick up. If the play is blocked for 8 yards, he's going to get 8 yards. Or he may get some more because he'll just knock some people out on his way to that first down. So I am going 910 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns, 5.5-yard average. I have no catches because they're not going to throw it to him. We have too many other weapons.
In 1 year, or are you talking about his first 2 years in the league, man?
No, it's going to be different. I don't think people are ready for what's going to happen against it.
Brian, 900 yards.
Third round pick. It's the third round.
Taking Antonio Gibson's lunch.
He's not riding the bench. He's not riding the bench. He is. There was
RB1 by week 2.
I'm telling you, the first thing out of Ron Rivera's mouth when asked about Brian Robinson was his ball security and his history of ball security.
That is true. Gibson does fumble a lot.
When was the story that we heard that Gibson was working on his fumbles? We haven't.
At least turning his hat around. He's going over the top on you.
I got this.
We
got
over the top.
Stories about how
it's on now.
is trying to fix his fumbling. So hey, this is gonna be different for people. I think
Antonio Gibson does have tiny Kenny Pickett hands. That might be part of the reason he fumbles. Brian Robinson's got giant hands, spider hands. But 900 yards, that's a bold statement.
All right, let me have it.
Well, and Brian, how many touchdowns did you give him? Was it 10?
8. Not them. 8. Just 8. It's modest. The modest number.
Okay, let's talk about this because you're basically saying he's RB1 essentially because you gave Gibson like 600 yards rushing, right?
I think he is brought here. The way they're going to use him is going to be completely different. People are thinking that Brian Robinson is going to be just to give Antonio Gibson just a breather. Like when Antonio Gibson's going to have 25 carries. All right, here, Brian Robinson, go get your 3 carries, and that's it. I believe it's going to be completely different. I could be absolutely 100% wrong, but that's just how I see it kind of unfolding. And that's why I was, thinking when I tweeted earlier in the year, I was like, man, Brian Robinson would be a good running back for us because I think he fits kind of what they're trying to do with Gibson, which is run him up the middle to be a power back. And I'm like, he's not really that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to put him at about 400 yards rushing, and I'm going to give him 2 touchdowns. Look, we take every draft pick and we make them a superstar, right? That's kind of what we do. But I just feel like this is still Gibson's team on the ground. And I think Gibson has a lot to prove. And I think we're going to find out if he's our guy going forward. I watched a lot of Brian Robinson, just some of the film that's out there on YouTube, cult film. I tried not to watch the highlights. I watched games against like Georgia to see kind of what his impact was. He is such a grinder as a runner. So I don't think 5.5 yards per carry is really realistic for him at all in the NFL. I think he's going to be somewhere in that 3.5 yard average, maybe 4 as he progresses. But I just don't see him coming in and completely taking Gibson off the map. I don't personally, but by all means, have your opinion. So I say 400 yards. I say, maybe 2 touchdowns.
Between you two.
Something like that. No, it was all good. All right. J.D. McKissick, who Brian feels is going to have 7,000 yards. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm the one that's supposed to go high on him because you guys already picked your 1,000-yard rusher.
Yeah, Eric, go ahead. What do you got for J.D. McKissick?
J.D.'s got 1,800 yards rushing. McKissick's going to be J.D. McKissick. He's going to have 50 catches and probably 500 yards on the ground, probably 4 touchdowns receiving, and he's going to get a few carries. He'll probably have 250 yards rushing and another 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I forgot to give his stats. Last year, he had 212 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. He had 43 catches, 397 yards in the air, and 2 touchdowns in 11 games. So,
yeah. More of that.
Yeah. Brian?
I think JD is going to have an awesome year. I've got him 415 rushing yards with 4 touchdowns, and then I've got him with 58 catches for 528 yards and 4 TDs. I think he's going to see plenty of catches. He's going to see plenty of runs, and he's just a playmaker. I mean, how many games last year did he have a big play or basically won us? There were several of them that he played an important role, and I think Scott Turner will find a way to get him involved because he is that special of a playmaker. So big year for him.
All right, Brian. So you got J.D. McKissick setting a career record for rushing yards this year, too. I like how you're thinking because, I love running the football. I like what you're thinking.
Especially since he said that Scott's going to be thrown all over the place. Like, if these numbers hold up, we're going to have the #1 offense in NFL history.
We're going to be the Rams from the early 2000s. I got McKissick. I think the 200 yards on the ground is accurate because that's not really what his bag is. He makes plays. He'll run the ball when you don't expect it, and he'll pick up some yards, but that's not really what he's here for. Catches-wise, he had 43 in 11 games, but again, we lacked offensive weapons outside of Terry McLaurin. So I think I'll keep his catches about 40. I'm going to give him 400 yards flat receiving, and I'm going to give him 3 touchdowns in the air because we talked about how Wentz doesn't throw to the running back a ton in normal years. Last year was a little bit above average. Because he had Jonathan Taylor. But I think if we get that out of J.D. McKissick again this year, that's a good number from him for us to be productive in the offense. So, all right, we have officially reached halftime offensively. I think we gave our projections. We project some good things there. I don't think I left anybody off. All right, halftime, fantasy football options. Eric, who is your guy that you think is going to be a fantasy contributor? And full disclosure, Eric won our fantasy football league last season, so this dude knows what he's talking about.
I won our fantasy football league, and I didn't even have a running back.
That's right.
I had nothing at running back until the Rams remembered that Sony, or I think was it Sony Michel, whoever was on their team, they started handing the ball off right at the end of the season. It's the only reason, just in time for the playoffs. But yeah, so obviously come to me for all things fantasy football, and even more so for all things luck. As far as fantasy options, Terry McLaurin is going to be a good option fantasy football-wise next year. He's going to contribute. He's going to be a wide receiver 1. He's going to put up really good numbers. So no question about him being a great fantasy player. I mentioned it earlier. Brian Robinson is going to be a sneaky player. He's going to be that touchdown vulture. He's going to, he's going to have games where he has 15 points, and he's going to have games where he does nothing. So you're going to have to selectively play him. But he's going to be a sneaky pick. I don't like any of the other running backs. Maybe J.D. McKissick is like a running back 3, or if you've got a flex player, because he's, may not be as reliable. And of course, a healthy Logan Thomas, you always want to put. He can certainly be a tight end 1, a lower end tight end 1, but a tight end 1 nonetheless. And yeah, why not Carson Wentz? Especially if you've got a quarterback friendly league. Carson Wentz is going to put up numbers next year. He's going to be throwing deep. He's going to have some yards and touchdowns. So why not him?
The only person I'm going to add to that is Gibson. I can't believe you left him out of there.
You just love Gibson so much.
I do.
I don't want to steal any Gibson thunder from you because I know how much you love him.
My guy.
I can't say anything good about him because he gets all the love from you. I want you to get jealous of him.
That's all I'm going to say. I think Gibson's going to have a breakout year. You're going to want to have him in fantasy. He's been productive every year. He's been in the league for fantasy purposes, especially when he had the 43 catches last year in PPR league. So look out for Gibson. Brian, I know you're not really a fantasy kind of guy, but is there a player you think statistically should be relevant to fantasy?
You're muted, Brian.
I can see him.
sharing
He's
that.
saying Brian Robinson. I can
Sorry about
tell.
He's saying Brian Robinson.
No, I think Eric touched on this guy already, and I think it's Carson Wentz. I think this offense is a quarterback offense. It is designed for the quarterback to do everything, make all the throws, and be the focal point of all the scoring, all the yards. So I really see Carson Wentz having a big year, even in games where we lose or it's a shootout. I think he's going to play well, and I think he's going to put up some really, really good numbers that are going to turn some people's heads. So that would be the guy that I would say, oh yeah, absolutely. And then of course, to me, Terry's a no-brainer, right? You bring in upgraded quarterback. He's used a little bit more correctly down the field. He's going to get a ton of passes thrown his way. So Carson and Terry.
All right, there you have it. All right, let's go into the second half. Let's talk about defense last year. Brian, give us a little synopsis on the defensive performance by the Commanders or Washington football team last year.
So heading into last year, the hopes were very high, and right from game one against the Chargers, that we were quickly realized that the defense wasn't very good. And I'm going to give you some numbers that when I looked this up today, I couldn't believe some of this. So pass defense. I'm going to go pass defense first. So as a whole, the team gave up 4,333 yards passing. If I were to tell you a quarterback got that many yards passing, you'd be like, that's a great year. We gave up a great year passing worth of stats. 67% completion percentage to the opposing quarterback, 34 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. We only got 11 interceptions last year from our pass defense, but we gave up 34 passing TDs, most in the NFL. There was not another NFL team. There was a couple who had 30, 31, but we were at 34. So our pass defense was not very good at all. Our rush defense was good. We were 8th in the league, but that was because our pass defense was so bad. Teams just decided, hey, we'll just throw it on you because it's so easy. We can get touchdowns at any point in time. And then another category where we were bad, third down defense. We were dead last in the NFL, giving up or letting opposing teams convert 6.7 third downs a game. That's essentially the opposing team. They came into the game knowing they could convert 7 third downs right off the top, right from the start of the game. That's what they started with. So we were really, really bad when it came to defense last year. There were stretches where we played better. Certainly the 4-game win streak that we had, we played some better defense because we were able to keep the defense off the field and get them some rest. But as a whole, not very good. Not good at all.
Yeah, and oh, man. So trying to project where this defense is going to end up ranking-wise is going to be tough. Eric, I'm going to give you the first stab at it. How do you think this defense is going to do, and where do you think they'll be in terms of the rest of the league this year?
So I think they'll be better than 2021, but not as good as 2020. This is kind of the middle of the road. 2020, we had a top 5 defense. We also played nothing at quarterback. I mean, we were playing Ben DiNucci, and, it was just a bunch of jokes. We knocked Joe Burrow out of the game and had Ryan Finley. It was just it was terrible quarterback play that we were up against. Whereas last year it was basically murderer's row of quarterbacks with like Mahomes and Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and just basically every top quarterback. Dak Prescott had a great year last year. All these guys. This year it's kind of somewhere in the middle. That we got the one division in the AFC that's kind of weak at quarterback, which is great. We get the AFC South. We have Trevor, what's his name is going to be good. He may not be good yet though. Tannehill is Tannehill. Davis Mills not really scaring anybody except for his long neck, kind of terrifying. And of course, Matt Ryan, who we love. We love Matt Ryan. He can carve up a defense, but is he what he was, and what are the weapons that they have out there? So I think that's going to help us quite a bit. That we're not playing the dominant quarterbacks that we played last year. I mean, obviously we have Rodgers on the schedule, and Rodgers, Matt Ryan. That's basically it, right? Prescott. Nobody big. We're playing Kirk Cousins. We're playing, Justin Fields may get there someday, but he's not there yet. Hopefully he won't be there when we play him. So I think we're going to be better. I think we finished somewhere middle of the pack between 15 and 20 in defense this year. There's some things that are going to get better. I think pass defense gets better. I think we get more sacks. I think that our 2 players on the edge being healthy, Sweat and Young, if they can combine for 22, 23 sacks, that's both of them having a really good year. So I think individual numbers. The one thing that has to improve is third down. I'm not 100% sure it's going to because the linebacker situation hasn't been resolved yet. That's a thing. But hopefully that gets better. But I can see us. I don't think we're going to be a great defense last year. I think we're going to be good enough that if we had a top 12 offense and a top 16, 17 ranked defense, I think you're going to be okay for that wild card spot. I had them going 12-5, so maybe they'll be a top 15 defense too. I don't know, but yeah, I think they're going to be better, but not as good. I don't think this is the number 5 or 4 or whatever defense it was we had was a little bit of smoke and mirrors. So I think we're going to be somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
So I'll say we finished 15. Long story short. Yep.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I think I don't think that the defense is going to make some great leap and be top 10 or top 5 or anything like that. I think they will be improved because the offense will be so improved, right, that they will be off the field, that they won't have to be on the field the entire time or be relied upon as much. So I think as long as the defense kind of improves to maybe 15 to 20, somewhere in that range. If we're able to get in that range in terms of passing, rush defense, I think we should be okay. But that third down defense, I mean, we can't be dead last. We can't just automatically give 7 third down conversions to the other team. That we've got to get way better than that. If we want to have hopes of getting to the playoffs, winning playoff games, we've got to be somewhere near 10 to 15 in terms of ranking and third down defense. So that has to drastically improve. And like Eric said, we didn't really do a whole lot at linebacker. So, I'm guessing or I'm assuming we're betting on the pass rush coming back in full force. And maybe that helps third down and or we get the Buffalo nickel situation straightened out with whoever it is who will play it. And maybe that helps third down. But we can't be dead last because that ain't going to cut it. So if we're in that 10 to 15 ranking range when it comes to third down, I think we'll be a much better unit and we'll be a lot more competitive.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we're gonna be the 12th overall ranked unit. When it comes to team improvement this year, I think defense is really an area where we can do that relatively easily. I think we played so below average, especially in the pass game. Look, Chase Young's going to be back. He's going to be healthy. That's going to make a difference. I know I got the DMs. I know I get messages about how we play better without him. Trust me when I tell you, you need elite talent in the NFL to be successful. I think William Jackson III is going to be more acclimated into the system. Brian cannot stop telling me about how much Bobby McCain is going to impact the defense this year. And look, Jamin Davis is improvement. So if we're all saying that those things are going to improve, we can't assume the defense is going to be just as bad as it was last year. So I'm going to say they're going to be a 12th ranked unit. I think, the run defense is going to come back a little bit. I think, top 8 was a little bit of a facade. I think we'll probably be top 10, top 12. And a passing offense is going to improve quite a bit. So look, top 12, I'll take it. If we get that, then I think that adds a couple of wins to our schedule this year. So let's quickly run through some of the players and give me some of your defensive stat projections. Let's talk sacks first. Let's start with Chase Young, who I think had 1.5 last year. He got hurt. His rookie year, I think he was 8 or 9 or something like that. So, Eric, where do you see Chase Young in terms of sacks this coming season?
11.5. I got a much better year. Sacks aren't the only part of his game, but it's definitely something that needs to come. He had 7.5 as a rookie, which was pretty good. I think with some seasoning, maybe a little bit of humbling last year, he maybe can get a little bit more out of, the off season and improve. So I think, 11.5 is fair. I'd say floor is 9, ceiling is 15, but I'll go 11.5.
All right. That's an impactful season. Brian?
Yeah. I'm going 9 sacks, and that's mainly because I don't think he starts out the year, playing. I think he may miss a couple of games, and/or I think there's like a pitch count for him starting out the year because he's a franchise type player. So I don't think that they're going to kind of rush him back. So I think that kind of affects the total. So I'm thinking 9 sacks and forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. Those are all parts of his game that we saw his rookie year as well too. But I'm going 9 sacks.
I'm gonna go 13. I think Chase Young's gonna break out. I think he's gonna have 13. And if we get 13 sacks from Chase Young, then we're really doing something. John Allen last year had 9 sacks. Eric, is he going to repeat that performance?
That's a tough sell. That was a great year. I think he's capable of it, but to expect that from him, that's a little tough. So I'll probably dial it back to about 6.5 for him.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean he's not impactful, because he's the most impactful defensive lineman we have. He just may not show up in the numbers, but I have no question that he's going to make a big impact next year.
Yeah, I'm going to double down on your 6.5. I think that's where he'll be as well. Brian, where do you see him at?
Oh, I'm going 9 sacks. Jonathan Allen is the best technician that we have along the defensive line in terms of his hand usage, getting off blocks. And also, he's the toughest guy on that defensive line. He is not going to let himself fall back into being lazy and or taking games off. He plays, and he plays well, and he's turned himself into essentially what third best defensive interior lineman, in the NFL. So I'm going 9 sacks again with him.
Man, you are giving out some numbers tonight. I tell you what, you're dishing it out. All right. Montez Sweat, last year he had 5 sacks. Year before he had 9. Year before that he had 7. Eric, where do you place Montez in terms of sacks?
14.
14?
He's playing. He's playing for a contract. He's going to that 5th year. He's looking for a payday, and it's going to show up. This is his year to shine. He's going to get 14 sacks.
Wow. All right. Brian, are you in agreement with that 14?
Yeah. I wasn't going to say. I was going to say 13, but Eric hit the nail on the head. We've seen this with a lot of guys. Contract year, all of a sudden, stats jump up, making all kinds of different plays and things like that. I think he bounces back. He has a big year. I'm going 13 sacks.
That man. Okay. I'm trying to check my paper because you guys went so high on Montez. I'm like, man, did I miss something?
What he only played 9 games last year?
I'll check.
It wasn't a statistically bad season for him. It was just he had a slow start, but he broke his jaw.
10 games.
10 games, yeah. So I know he broke his jaw, and then he had the death in his family, which he missed basically the whole second half of the season. But he's looking for a payday.
Yeah, he was also patient zero. He was out with COVID for a bunch of games too. So
I think I'm going to go with 9. I think, Chase being back, I think Chase is going to be more effective in getting to the quarterback, which is going to eat away a little bit some of Sweat's opportunity. Sweat is a great defensive end. I just think Chase Young is the blue chip talent there, and I think he's going to accumulate the sacks on the defensive line.
Yeah, but opposing offensive coordinators also know that.
You can't stop the guy. You won't be able to stop Chase Young. I don't care what you put on him.
But you take resources away from Montez to block Chase. Montez is going to feast.
Let's hope so. He's
trying to get paid.
Got to get that money, y'all. Mm-hmm. All right. Kendall Fuller last year had 1 interception. Eric, is he going to do better this year?
Yeah. I mean, not much, probably 3. Has he ever really been a big – I know he had that one stretch when he first came here or first came back where he had like 1 in 3 straight games or 4 straight games. But other than that, he's an effective defensive back, but he's a cover guy. They play corner for a reason. So I don't project a lot of interceptions for him. Yeah,
I think he's topped out at 4. He had a couple years of none and 2 and 1 sprinkled in. So, yeah, he's not the guy – he's not a Trayvon Diggs type of player.
Yeah, he's not the ball hawk. He's just he's a solid cover corner.
Right. What do you think, Brian?
He'll have 3 interceptions, but I do want to say Kendall Fuller actually had a good year last year.
He did.
I think a lot of people, look at the first 2 games where they tried to force him back into the slot, and he played a little uneven. When he moved back outside, he was a good corner. I think you guys both nailed it. He's never going to be a high INT type guy with 5, 6, 7 or anything like that. But I think if he plays outside all year, I think 3 INTs in 17 games is reasonable for him. But he is a good player, and he had a good year last year. So hopefully they leave him on the outside.
Yeah. I'm going to go with I'm going to say 3 picks. I think 3 picks is a good number for him. Yeah. Let's talk about William Jackson III. Last year, he had 2 interceptions last year. He's really never been an interception guy his career. We talked about that when he got signed here. He's really more of a cover guy, and he'll be where you expect him to be. Eric, You think he's going above his peak 2 interception number?
No, I'll give him 3-2. It's fair. I think maybe he's always been more of a man player, and he didn't play the full season last year, so he may have gotten another couple. And with him maybe figuring the system out a little bit better this year, he may, he'll snag a few, I'm sure. He looked like he knew what he was doing when he got the one against San Diego. He snagged it and, plucked it out of the air with both hands and ran with it. So it wasn't like one that hit him in the face or anything like that. So I think he's capable of doing it. A lot of it is quarterbacks, previously had avoided him as well. But after last year, maybe they won't. So he'll have more opportunities.
I like it. Brian, what do you got?
Yeah, I think 3 interceptions for him is a good number as well. Hopefully the team, though, you sign a press man corner and you make him play zone. Hopefully they utilize his skill set a little bit more, maybe play a little bit more man coverage, a little bit more press as opposed to the zone. That way we can see some more of those ball skills that he does have. But I think 3 is a reasonable number for him.
Yeah, I'm going to go 5. I think, he's going to show his worth this year. I think he'll be in positions where he can intercept some passes because I think we'll be up more, and I think teams are going to be throwing a lot more to try to come back against us in some instances. So I'm going to give him 5. St. Juice last year had a donut in the interception column. He didn't play a ton because of the head injuries. Don't you dare tell him he had 3 concussions because he does not like that. What do you think statistically in terms of interceptions for St. Juice, Eric?
It's hard to tell because we saw so little of him last year. So I'll go 2. I think Brian hit it on the head. I think they're going to maybe leave Fuller outside more. So maybe St. Juice will come in and play a little more slot where he may be somewhat effective. But it's hard to tell because, he played outside last year and only played limited action. And he wasn't super effective in the interception category. So, yeah, 2. We'll give him 2 if he plays 16 games.
Brian?
Yeah, I don't think he has any this season. I was not impressed. I never thought he should have been starting on the outside against number 1 wide receivers in the NFL to start the season, and it showed. I mean, he was picked on often and early. I think he's probably in a 3rd, 4th cornerback type rotation. I don't know if he's going to be able to produce any interceptions. So I'm going 0. I'm not that high on him.
Yeah, I wonder if Will Adams is not going to compete with St. Juice for some playing time at cornerback, but we'll see. I'm not going to jump
too early to figure that out.
I'm not going to jump out that window yet. But, look, I'm going to give St. Juice 1. I'm going to say he gets his first career interception, and we'll see what happens from there. All right, let's round this out with Cam Curl and Bobby McCain. Cam Curl last year, everybody, I call him the people's safety because everybody loves Cam Curl. He's one of the more popular players on the league, on our team. Last year, he had no interceptions. Wow, is that right? Yeah, no interceptions last year. Eric, what do you think Cam Curl is going to do this season?
Yeah, I'll give him 2, 1 return for a touchdown because he's Cam Curl. He's again not really the ball hawk type player. He's closer to being a box safety. He's got some range as well, but he's really not in deep coverage a lot. But balls get tipped, he'll be there. He'll get 2, take 1 back to the house.
I'll take that. Brian, what do you got?
I think Cam Curl's going to have a big year. He's going to be the best player on the defense or close to it. He's going to have 4 interceptions because he's going to be Buffalo nickel, strong safety, linebacker. He's going to do all kinds of things. They may even put him at defensive end and let him rush the passer. He's going to have a really good year.
Brian, I love it, man. God bless you. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go Cam Curl. I think he's going to have 2 interceptions next year. I think he finds a way to 2 because he's always around the ball, and I'll stop there. Bobby McCain. Brian, I want you to start us out with Bobby McCain because first and foremost, I want you to admit that Bobby McCain had 4 picks last year, 4 interceptions last year alone. How many picks is he going to have this year?
I have to go back and review those because 2 of those were against some guy. I don't even know if he belongs in the NFL. But no, but Bobby McCain, he did. He had 4 interceptions. I'm not a fan of Bobby McCain, but he did play well the second half of the year. I got to give him his props. He did get those interceptions. He had that nice one against Tom Brady at the Bucs. I think that was a good interception. So I think 2 interceptions this year because I think there's going to be a lot of movement rotating with Percy Butler and maybe another defensive back that we haven't seen yet. So I think 2 interceptions for Bobby, and that's not because I'm hating on him. I think he'll play well because I think Cam Curl is now that veteran back there, and he'll calm that secondary down.
All right,
Eric. I got 4. I got him leading the team again this year. 4 interceptions in 17 games for a free safety is doable. It's a good season. But I think, I would be more happy to see him not having guys run by him while he's standing still. So if we can make that happen, I don't care how many interceptions he has. And he was much better at stopping the deep passes last year once they started figuring out the defense. So I think he has a pretty good year, and I think 4 interceptions is a fair total for him. I think he'll lead the team again because free safeties generally lead the team. I might have made that stat up. I have no idea.
I think you did because I think your corners are all right. I'm going to say 5 just to get on Brian's nerves. To say it again. No, seriously, he had 4 last year.
What if Antonio Gibson played safety? How many would he have?
Or Brian Robinson. I'm going to say
Brian Robinson's 5. Definitely a Buffalo nickel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to say he has 5. I think he played well last year at the end of the season. I think he's going to turn that to another positive year. Look, career-wise, I don't know where he's at. I want to see his career stats, and I'll try to look those up. But the
coaches love him. Coaches love Bobby McCain, and they talk highly of him. So, he's doing something right. I would imagine his preparation for practice for these games is, something that the coaches love. So, he is well liked by the coaching staff.
For sure. And I think he averages about like 1.8 interceptions a year. So anywhere between 2 to 5, I think is definitely in the ballpark for me. So there you have it. Those are our defensive stats. We gave you the offensive stats. We talked about fantasy a little bit. Brian, what do you got?
What about our linebackers? Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb.
We're going to save that for another day. We got more coming. There's more episodes. Stay locked in. Stay plugged in. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Brian wants to give out a bunch of interceptions to Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis and a bunch of sacks to both those guys too. I'm going to hold him back just for tonight for you guys. So thank you for listening, guys. Stay tuned. Stay plugged in. We got a lot more coming. Subscribe. Tell your friends. Have a good evening. We are the Commanders Declassified Podcast, and we are out of here.